Table tennis is thought to have been around for more than 100 years. It's said to have started in England in the 1880s, and its popularity quickly spread throughout the world. Back then, it was known as whiff-waff, then later ping-pong. But it's come a long way since then. The tables, for example, are a lot more modern. They're usually made from chipboard and can cost anywhere between $50 to thousands of dollars for a professional table. Books have been replaced with a bat. A bat has a black and red side, each with a different type of rubber, so players can choose which side to use depending on their hit. And the balls have become a lot lighter, making them easier to hit and bounce. If you've never played table tennis before, the rules are pretty simple. A match can be played with 2 or 4 players. In a singles match, it's the best 3 out of 5 games. And for each game, the first player to reach 11 points wins.
Hi, I'm Ellie from Gilbert Table Tennis Center, and today I'm going to tell you a couple of words about ping pong balls and how to choose one for playing table tennis or ping pong. So we have balls coming in 2 colors pretty much, 2 main colors, white and orange. So both of them, they're internationally approved colors. So usually it's either white or orange for major tournaments. Also, the big thing about table tennis balls is they usually come in variety of stars, so they graded by stars. Let's say this ball is 1 star, so it's the lower quality. just for amateur and not very professional players. This is a 3-star ball, so this is more even, more round and more hard ball. And so the more stars on the ball, the better quality of the ball is. Let's say if I compare 1-star ball and I just spin it like that. So usually the ball goes very wobbling, so you can see like it's not really even, it's not really round. And then if I do that with 3 stars balls, usually goes more even. So it's a better ball. And so basically when the ball is touching the table, with 1-star ball, the ball can go here and here sometimes. With 3 stars, it's more solid, more even ball. So it's a little bit harder and heavier on the weight. So that makes the play a little bit better, the game, so you don't really see unpredicted bouncing of an uneven ball. And that's pretty much what you want to look for. The more stars, the better ball. And I'm Ellie from Gilbert Table Tennis Center, and I gave you some info about ping pong. Hi, I'm Ellie from Gilbert Table Tennis Center, and today I'm going to tell you how to choose a table for ping pong or for table tennis, how you want to call it. So the biggest difference in tables is there are 2 lines: outdoor table tennis tables and indoor tables. So the difference between them, the major difference, is the bounce. So outdoor table usually doesn't give you as high bounce, so the ball doesn't bounce as high. Even though indoor table, the bounce is higher. So professional tournaments usually held on the indoor tables, of course. The big advantage of outdoor tables is that they sustain the rain, sustain the sun and wind and everything which comes outdoor. Water, no problem. Outdoor tables, they're made from melamine resin, and the indoor tables, they're made from particle board. So you can see the top coat, it's the difference in thickness. So this one is thinner top coat than this one. So that is why it doesn't produce as high bounce. And many outdoor tables, they're made from aluminum. So that is why we don't get as high bounce either. The big advantages of the tables, when you look for a table, if you want to keep it folded, many tables, they come with an option like a center fold. You can fold them and just roll against the wall. Some of the tables, they look great, but you can't fold them, so you always have to see pluses and minuses of each table. And as I mentioned before, outdoor versus indoor. So look what kind of place you want to keep the table and what you need it for. Again, I'm Ellie from Gilbert Table Tennis Center, and good luck playing, good luck choosing your table.
When you're considering your table tennis equipment, we always talk about your table tennis bat and the balls, and we also talk about the tables. But one thing that is often overlooked is the table tennis net. With these older type of nets, you can make some adjustments, but as you can see, it's quite a floppy sort of net. If the ball hits the net, it's going to dribble over a lot of the time, and sometimes even if it hits the middle of the net, it dribbles over. And we've all seen those nets that we've played with at clubs and at schools. You can adjust this slightly so you can pull it tighter. So that's what you're really looking for. You're looking for the net to be really tight and not allow the ball to just dribble over when it hasn't hit near the top of the net. The other thing that some nets come with are these strings that go through the net, and being able to tension that is also another way of improving the quality of the net that you're playing with. But these old ones, very limited in how much you can do as far as keeping the net height correct and keeping the tension correct on the net as well. What does a better net look like? Firstly, the clamp system is a little bit better. So here, this one has a clamp system where you're winding the clamp up, which gets a nice firm attachment to the table. The other things that are really important here are the height adjustment. So underneath here, on this one, there is a little height adjustment screw that when you turn it, it changes or lifts the height of the net. So that's going up, or you can go down. And the final feature of this is the tensioner. So this one here you can tighten or loosen the string that goes through the top of the net, again to get a nice tension at the top of the net. So it stops those balls from hitting the middle of the net and going over. This is pretty easy to attach to the table. We just slide the clamp onto the table, and underneath we tighten that screw as we saw before, and now that is nice and firmly attached to the table. We can go around to the other side and do the same. So attach it to the table, it's nice and firm, and there you can see now that that net is quite well tensioned. I can again adjust that tensioner to make it a little bit tighter, and I can adjust the height of the net to just make sure it's correct. Most good nets will come with a net measurer. So what that does is it just sits on top of the net, and it needs to sit where it is quite flush to the net. So you can see there that that is dangling, so that means that it's up a little bit too high. So I need to adjust the height of the net by bringing it down fractionally. And once I do that, then you can see that it's sitting nicely on the table there, which means that the net is at a good height. Getting your net right in your training environment is really important. If you are training at home or in your club and the net is at that height and you're practicing your serving and you're practicing trying to keep that ball nice and low and short with your pushing, and then suddenly you get to the tournament and the net is the correct height, you're going to be hitting the ball into the top of the net on your serves or on your short pushing. So really important, get your net height right. Another difference between the cheaper nets and the better nets is that the cheaper nets tend to be quite hard and inflexible. So that's made of almost a plasticky type of material. Whereas the better nets, you can see, has a bit of stretch in them. So that just stops the ball from dribbling over the net as easily. These are the things I want you to look for when you are selecting your net. The first one is a nice solid clamp that's going to stay on the table. The second thing is the ability to adjust the height of the net. This one has a little screw at the bottom where you can move the net post up and down slightly. And the third one is the ability to tension the net. That will give you a nice net height that is going to be consistent, and when you get to your tournament, you're going to be playing under the same conditions.
Hi, I'm Ellie from Gilbert Table Tennis Center, and today I'm going to tell you about basic scoring rules in ping pong or table tennis. So the match consists of 7 games, all 5 games. International tournaments usually play by 7 games. So if the match is best of 7, you have to win 4 games. Let's say 4-0 or 4-1, 4-2, whoever scores 4 first. If it's best of 5, then you have to win 3 games, either 3-0, 3-1, or 3-2. So whoever scores 3 games first, that person is the winner. Then when we play each game, we serve 2 services each. So I serve 2, and then my opponent serves 2. So whoever scores 11 points first, that will be the winner. The only thing here to pay attention to is when it's 10-10, then it's deuce. So you have to switch the service every serve. So let's say 10-10, I serve, and then I give the serve to my opponent. So 11-10, the opponent serves. And then on deuce, you have to be 2 points apart. So it's either 12-10 or 13-11 or 14-12 and so forth. So it could not be 11-10. So it has to be 12-10. So the basic scores is 2 services each, and game is until 11 points. Best of 5 or best of 7. And I'm Ellie from Gilbert Table Tennis Center, and good luck playing.
We all want to have a fantastic serve, but it's no use going to a tournament and getting faulted all the time. So you need to know the rules. The first rule I want you to know about is that you must have a flat hand when serving, and the ball must be in the palm of your hand. Now, when people first start out in table tennis, they often hold the ball in their fingers, but you can't do that. It's illegal. So make sure you get a flat hand and you put the ball in the palm of your hand. Now, the reason this rule came about is that so you can't spin the ball up as you're tossing it up, because that would make it much harder for the receiver. And so to simplify things, you have to throw it up without imparting any spin on the ball. Now, when you throw it up, you have to be behind the end line of the table, and you also have to contact the ball behind the end line of the table. So you can't throw it up and then hit the ball in front of this line, and you can't throw it up from in front even if you hit it behind. So make sure you're always behind the end line of the table. Now, the other thing is you can't throw it up from below the table because the opponent has to see the ball throughout the serve. So you must throw it up from above the level of the table. Now, you may be wondering, can you serve from out wider than the sideline of the table? And the answer is yes, as long as you're behind the extension of this imaginary line coming out from the end of the table. Now, the next important rule I want you to learn is about the service toss. When you're serving, you must throw the ball up at least 6 inches or 16 centimetres. That's about the height of the net or about the width of your bat. Now, a lot of people, when they're first starting out, they just serve the ball straight out of their hand, but that's illegal. You can't do that. So make sure when you serve, you throw the ball up so that it clears your hand by at least 16 centimetres. When you throw the ball up, you must throw it near vertical. You can't throw it backwards to the side, or you can't throw it back in towards yourself. Now, most players will throw the ball up and it will move a little bit, but the rule's really there to stop you just throwing the ball straight into your bat. But just to be safe, try and practice throwing it up as close to vertical as you can. Now, the next rule is quite contentious. The principle behind it is that your opponent must be able to see the ball the whole time throughout the serve. So you can't throw the ball up and get your arm in the way as you're hitting the ball. So you throw the ball up, get your arm out of the way and serve so your opponent can see the ball the whole time. Now, another way to think about it is if you take the net posts and the triangle that's formed between them and the ball, that must be clear throughout the entire serve. A really common question I get is where can you serve from and where can you serve to? Now, in singles, you can serve from anywhere to anywhere. This line down the middle is only used for doubles. Now, in doubles, you have to serve from the right-hand box to the right-hand box.
Hi, I'm Alois Rosero from Ping Skills. Jeff Plum and I are going to show you how to do the very basic serve. If you've never played table tennis before and you're wondering, how do you serve? Let me show you some basics. The first thing is that when you serve in table tennis, you have to hit the ball so it bounces on your side of the table and the other person's side. So you can't just hit the ball straight over into the other side of the table. You have to hit it down into your side first. That's the only time in the game where you do hit the ball onto your own side. You might be finding the basic serve fairly complicated to start with. If you are, here's a really simple tip. Start with your bat and ball really close together, and then all you need to do is do the hit. So you're doing the hit and the ball will bounce on your side of the table and then your partner's side of the table. So it's hit, bounce, bounce. Really important to just keep practicing this to start off with, just the hit, bounce, bounce. Once you're feeling fairly comfortable with that, you can move on to the next level of serving. So the next level of serving is to make sure that the ball is behind the end line of the table when you're throwing it up and hitting it. So you're not allowed to hit the ball from over here for the serve. It has to be behind the end line. So let's have a look at that. So we're now going to do our hit, bounce, bounce from behind the line. Okay, let's progress a little bit further now. The next thing we're going to do is to get this serve legally correct. You need to have the ball on the flat palm of your hand. So the ball has to be on the palm. It's not allowed to be on your fingers or on your thumb, and your hand has to be fairly flat. You'll get away with having your hand a little bit cupped like that, but it needs to be basically flat with the ball on the palm of your hand. The next thing is that you need to throw the ball up at least the height of the net off your hand. So around about that high off your hand before you hit it onto your side. So this is what the serve looks like now. Ball on the flat hand, throw it up, and then we do our hit, bounce, bounce. Now that you've got the basics right, you're holding the ball correctly and behind the line, now we're going to try and make the ball travel a little bit faster and to a better position. To get the ball faster, we need to get it nice and low over the net. We also need to make sure that we're hitting the ball forward. If you hit the ball on its head, then the ball's going to bounce up high. You want to hit the ball on its back to get the ball moving through a little bit faster. When you hit the ball also needs to be fairly low. If you throw the ball up and try to hit the ball from up here, it has to bounce high over the net. So make sure after you throw the ball up, the ball comes down, back to your bat level, and your bat moves forward. A common error I see is that when people throw the ball up, they also lift their bat up, and so then they're going to hit the ball from too high. So when you throw the ball up, keep your bat nice and steady, and then it just comes forward to get a nice, low, fast serve. I hope now you've got the basics of the serve. Make sure that you progress to a level where you're able to hold the ball on the palm of your hand and you're throwing the ball up to the correct height from behind the end line of the table and getting that serve nice and low. If you found this lesson useful and have learned how to serve correctly, go to pingskills.com and learn a whole lot more about table tennis.
Rules for doubles serving. So there are a couple of extra rules in doubles that you don't have in singles. The first one is that you have to serve from your right-hand box diagonally to your opponent's right-hand box. So you're serving from this box across to there. In doubles, we never serve from this box across the other way. It's always from your right-hand box diagonally to your opponent's right-hand box. So I'm going to serve my two serves diagonally to you. After I finish my two serves, Jeff and I swap sides, and now it's your turn to serve to Jeff. Now it's your turn to serve. So you're going to serve two serves from your right-hand box diagonally to Jeff. Now you've served your two serves, it's time for you to swap sides with your partner. And now it's Jeff's turn to serve 2 serves to your partner. The rule is that after your team finishes your 2 serves, you and your partner swap sides. If you've just been receiving, you don't swap sides, but it's your turn to serve.
Okay, so let's talk through how to play a game, how to score a game then.
Well, a set is up to 11 points, and these are the point scores and these are the set scores. So a set is up to 11 points. If it becomes 10-all, so if it becomes 10-all, then you have to win by 2 clear points, 12-10, 13-11, 14-12, etc. The service is changed every 2 points. You would serve from 2 points, I would serve 2 points, you serve 2 points, until 10-10, then it's 1 serve each, once it gets into a deuce.
Okay.
So if you win the first set, then obviously you've got the set counters here on the side, and a match is best of 5 sets, so 3-0, 3-1 or 3-2. Okay. International play is best of 7.
Right. Okay. And in terms of time then, how long would a best of 5 match take?
A best of 5 would be about 25 minutes, 30 minutes,
right.
And a best of 7 can be anything up to 1 hour.
Okay.
So it's quite grueling over the space of a day if you're playing 8-10 matches a day.
And when you've got to 10-10 and you've got to win by 2 clear points, that just keeps on going?
That keeps on going until it's 2 clear points. Okay. 11-10, then if it's 11-all, you've got to get 13 first, and if it's 13-all, 15 first. Okay. And so be it.
So when I first started playing, I used to play up to 21. So why is it not 21 anymore? Why is it 11?
Yeah, it was the same when I first started playing, up to 21 with 5 serves each. It changed in 2001 up to 11 to make it more exciting, to make sure that the points were very high pressure more often. And it's created a lot more upsets in the game, and it's more of a spectacular now for TV and for table tennis enthusiasts.
Yeah. That's great. Okay.
Okay, so we're just talking about different ways we can win points in table tennis. And obviously when we're playing a rally, one way of winning a point is if one of the players hits the ball off the end, and that's my point. The other way of winning a point is if we're playing away and one of the players hits the ball into the net, and again, that's my point. If the ball hits the net and comes over, we can carry on playing. If it hits the net and just dribbles over, and I'm unable to stretch in and play the point, then obviously it'd be my opponent's point. But if it hits the net and comes back on your side, it's my point. So some other ways of winning points is if the ball comes and it's the edge and it's not retrievable, that's my opponent's point. But if it's the side of the table where this metal casing is, then that's not a good point. That would be my point. If it comes over, it's the edge, it's fine. If it's the side, it's not fine. On the service, if you're doing a serve and it hits the net and dribbles over, you take the serve again. You can do that as many times as you want. There's no limit to how many times you can hit the left point. But if I was to serve into the net directly, or serve on my side but not the other side, that would be my opponent's point straight away. There's no double serve like there is in tennis, where you get two chances. Only one chance, and if you get it wrong, it's your opponent's point.
And it doesn't have to be your serve to win points?
No, you can win points on your opponent's serve as well. I know in some sports you can only win points on your own serve, but that's not the case in table tennis. Okay. So you can win points all the time. But yeah, there's very many options with edges and nets, and that's what makes table tennis so exciting and dynamic.
For more table tennis coaching videos from Ryan Jenkins, please visit homeletterdirect.com/TV.
Hi, I'm Alois Rosero from Ping Skills. Today we're going to talk about the grip. There are 2 main ways of holding the table tennis bat. The first one is the shake hand grip. So as the name suggests, it's like you're shaking hands with the bat. So there's the bat, you're shaking hands with it, you have your pointer finger across the bottom of one side of the racket, and you have your thumb across the bottom of the other side. So a lot of people ask, why can't you just hold it like you'd do a tennis racket? Well, the main thing is that the pointer finger up on the racket there gives you a much better control over the racket head. The second thing is that it also helps you to know what angle your racket is at.
So if your racket turns in your hand a little bit, you've got a good idea of where that is with your pointer finger there. If you don't have your pointer finger there, your racket can turn in your hand and it's much harder for you to tell what angle the racket's on. So make sure that you have your pointer finger across the bottom of the bat. The other important thing with the shake hand grip is to make sure that you don't strangle the bat. If you've got your bat too tight in your hand, firstly, you're going to lose feeling in your wrist, and also it's much harder to generate spin. So have your bat really loosely in your hand. As a test, you should be able to just take the bat out of your hand as easily as that. The second common way of holding the table tennis bat is the penhold grip. So with the penhold grip, you have your handle facing upwards and you encircle your thumb and pointer finger around the handle, like you would holding a pen. On the back of your bat, you can have your fingers in two different ways. Either curled up, like that, or you can have them flat across the bat. That's just a preference. If your fingers are curled up, your wrist can be used a little bit more easily. If you've got your fingers spread across the back, then you get a little bit better control over the racket head. So just experiment for yourself, see which one feels more comfortable for you. Why would you choose either the shake hand or the penhold grip? There's a couple of advantages and disadvantages of each. Firstly, with the shake hand grip, the advantage is that you can use both sides equally as well, with the forehand and the backhand. The disadvantage is that you create a crossover point where you're changing between the forehand side of your racket and the backhand side of your racket. So you need to weigh those two things up. With the penhold grip, the advantage is that you can use your wrist a lot more because you're using your wrist in that range as opposed to the shake hand grip where you're using it in that range. So you're using your wrist much more easily with the penhold grip. The other advantage of the penhold grip is that you don't have that crossover point because you're using the same side of your racket to start off with on both sides, the backhand and the forehand. So you don't have the crossover that you had with the shake hand grip. The real disadvantage of the penhold grip though is the backhand side. It's much harder to hit the ball or attack the ball with the backhand side. Now the backhand is starting to be used as a reverse penhold backhand, which is much more effective, but it's still quite a difficult stroke with the penhold grip. So now that you've seen these two grips, you decide which grip is best for you. You might want to experiment with both the shake hand and the penhold grip. Play with them both, see which suits you, see which feels more comfortable for you. That's the main criteria.
Hi, I'm Ellie from Gilbert Table Tennis Center, and today I would like to tell you about how to play table tennis, including strokes. So basically, if you'd like to play table tennis and you'd like to play successfully, so you would like to stay a little bit lower to the ground. So in your athletic position, try to bend your knees, and you're going to start point with a service. So you have to serve the ball like this, and then when your opponent returns the ball, so everybody hits once. So it will look like this. So right now, Bella and I, we're using the underspin strokes. So we're staying with the backspin stroke right now, on the backspin side. So in this stroke, you would like to pay attention that you're brushing the ball through very lightly. And the ball is leaving your racket with underspin. Then on the forehand underspin stroke would look like this. So here you would like to focus on brushing the ball through again, very lightly. Try to keep the ball very low above the net. So you don't want to hit the ball too high like this. Okay, very low. Then you would like to move your feet as you play. That's very important. Try to stay on the bent knees. Keep your body weight off the heels, so you don't want to stay on the heels, okay? The next stroke would be backhand drive. that would be the topspin stroke. And this stroke, this is much more offensive stroke than the underspin. And it's a very, very wide used stroke. Same idea, we have it on the forehand side. Looks like this, very offensive stroke as well. And Bella and I right now are going to perform just the point when we play anywhere on the table. And that's how the point will look in the game. Moving your feet and watching the ball all the time. Very helpful. And the game will go until 11 points, and the person who scores 11 points is winning the game. Unless it's 10-10, then it's deuce, and you have to be apart by 2 points, either 12-10 or 13-11, 14-12, and so on. And the matches matches usually played best of 7 or best of 5. So if you're playing best of 5, you have to win three games, 3-0, 3-1, or 3-2. And if it's best of 7, then you have to win 4 games. 4-0, 4-1, 4-2, 4-3. And I'm Ellie from Gilbert Table Tennis Center, and today I showed you how to play table tennis, including strokes. Thanks for watching.
Let's have a look at the forehand chop. So this is a stroke that you use when you're pushed away from the table. It's a defensive stroke that you put some backspin on the ball. Because you are further away from the table, you do have time to turn yourself more side on to the table. So your stance is more side on. The start position with your bat is up quite high. So get it up at head high, or even at the start, what you can do is touch your right ear. Then you move your bat down and forward and finish at knee high. And again, as a guide to start with, you can even just touch your left knee at the end of the stroke. So our 3 basic points: turn yourself side on, start with your bat up at head high or touching your ear, finish with your bat at knee high or touching your left knee. If the ball's coming faster, the stroke needs to be more vertical, so starting up high and coming straight down. If the topspin is slower, then Jeff can start up high but move more forward with his bat to push the ball over the net. So if it's fast, he doesn't need to go forward, just straight down. If it's slow, then he can come more forward on the stroke. Oh, that would have been good. Ah, nice. Alois Rosero from Ping Skills. In this lesson, we're going to show you the backhand chop. The backhand chop is a stroke used by defensive players when they're further away from the table. Because you have a bit more time, you could turn more side on to the table. Your start position with your bat is up around your left ear. and your finish position is down near your right knee. So we turn ourselves side on if you've got time. Start with your bat at your left ear and come straight through down towards your right knee. At the end of your stroke, you could even just put your hand on your right knee to know that the bat is finishing in the correct position. Because Jeff's turned side on, you can see that he's still hitting the ball from in front of his body when he's contacting the ball. So the ball is contacted right in front of his body and then he's swinging through. Let's have a look now at the different angle of your stroke. If the ball is coming really fast at you, your stroke can be more vertical because you don't need much forward momentum to get the ball back over the net. But if the stroke is slower, then you can start a little bit further behind and finish further forward. So now you can see that Jeff is finishing in front of his knee to get that ball to go forward because he now needs to generate the speed. The next thing we need to think about is what type of rubber you're using. Long pimples can really help you to be able to absorb the spin of the top spin player and also slow down the ball. Let's have a look now. If Jeff top spins the ball and I'm using inverted rubber, what happens? If I just put my bat to the ball flies off the end of the table. Now I'm going to use the long pimple rubber and let's see what happens. You can see that the long pimple absorbs the speed and allows me to control that top spin back onto the table without having to do anything. So for the chopper, when they're back away from the table, if there's a lot of spin or a lot of speed on the ball and they're using the inverted rubber, the ball is going to tend to fly off the end of the table. But if they're using the long pimple rubber, it's much easier to control that top spin back onto the table. The stroke is basically the same with the long pimples. But now Jeff doesn't have to worry about the speed and spin so much and can just control the ball back onto the table.
Hey, I'm Gina Pota, and I will show you how to block.
The forehand and backhand blocks are defensive strokes. The efficiency behind block strokes is gained by using the speed and strength of the opponent's stroke. Reading the opponent and good timing are key for a good execution. This tutorial is for right-handers. For left-handers, use the video as your mirror image. Stand close to the table. Keep your feet shoulders width apart, almost at the same distance from the table. Your left foot should not be more than 10 to 15 centimeters in front of your right. Your knees are slightly bent. Your body is relaxed. The upper part of your spine is slightly bent. Your hips a little bit backward. Your core is much higher than with other strokes. The racket starting position is always above the ball. Your right shoulder is slightly forward and leaning downwards. Your elbow is also forward. The wrist is bent to get the top of the racket in a tilted position towards the body. Your grip and forearm are firm. Your elbow is close to the body and other parts of your body are relaxed. There is much less physical activity in block strokes. The racket moves forward and down, and the movement of the stroke is very small. When facing a strong topspin, backhand block is performed with lower and more forward shoulder, and your forearm is moving more downwards. A backhand block requires more action from the thumb pressing into the rubber. Like other backhand strokes, the backhand block is performed in front of the body, as it is an easier, more natural position to control the opponent's topspin. The ball should be intercepted about 15 centimeters after the bounce, about 1 net's height. If you want to be more aggressive and add some additional power to the ball, hit the ball at 1.5 net's height. Direction of the racket should be towards the center of the ball, particularly for blocking topspins with a lot of rotation. The point of contact is the same as for forehand and backhand topspins. Many times, you can choose to play short topspin close to the table instead of block, so keep your options open. A block is a really short stroke, and your hand stops just a few centimeters after the contact. If you anticipate that you have to play another block, bring the racket to the middle and above the table. Move to the position where your opponent's loop is most likely to come. Keep the upper part of the body relaxed. Answering an opponent's strong attack with a technically good block is simple, but a very efficient tool for a defender. In many situations, it seems that the blocker is winning the mental game as he uses the opponent's speed and strength against him.